Damon Martin MMA fighting here with one of the top bantamweight fighters in the world, coming off a 5-round battle this past Saturday night with TJ Dillashaw in a very, very close and let's say controversial fight. We'll get into all that momentarily. I'm going to welcome back Cory Sandhagen. Cory, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for taking the time as always. First, before we get anything else, man, let me congratulate you on an amazing performance. I know it didn't go your way. We're going to talk a lot about that, obviously, but man, what a fight. What a war. I mean, again, I know you expected the best TJ Dillashaw, but man, I thought you looked great in there. I thought you had a great performance on Saturday nights.
Yeah, I thought I did good. Yeah. Do you want me to go over the fight in my head and how I thought it was going? Or?
Let's get right into it. So yeah, let me hear your thoughts now that you've had a chance to go back and rewatch and kind of think about it.
Yeah. So round one, there was a good amount of grappling involved. I think I was maybe chasing submissions a little bit too much and spent a little bit too much time on the ground. But I was able to get a heel hook and pop his knee. It wasn't what he was saying where it was this, oh, I tweaked my knee because I got lazy. It was, I pulled you into 50-50 and then heel hooked you and popped your knee. And then, so round one, just because I guess so much time was spent on my back, even though I was protecting myself really well and was able to pop his knee, I would give TJ round one. Round two, obviously, I beat him up really good. I knocked him down a couple times. I landed some really good shots, or I guess just once. I knocked him down. Maybe should have gone for the finish, maybe not. Kind of had in my head that, TJ's a really tough guy and there's still 3 more rounds after this. So maybe it wouldn't be the best idea to empty the gas tank so early. Round 3 and 4, I think were probably the closest rounds. I still think I was landing the cleaner shots and doing more damage than he was, while he was being aggressive and, outscoring me. I think that I think even on the score sheets, we're hitting each other about equally. And I think mine were still a lot cleaner than that. Round 5, I think I won. And then there's kind of this topic of, well, TJ was controlling me against the cage and this and that. And that to me is very strange to kind of add as an argument of him winning because he wasn't able to do any damage and he wasn't able to take me down. If you look at kind of the statistics, he shot 19 times and took me down twice. And the 2 times that he took me down were when I threw a flying knee and when I threw a spinning heel kick. And both times, again, after the flying knee, I popped his knee. And then after the second time with the heel kick, I just got back up immediately and he didn't do any damage against the cage. So the way I feel about the fight overall, sorry, that was a little bit long-winded, but the way I feel about the fight overall is that I won the fight more by my standard, but as a third person party and kind of the aesthetic of the fight, I can see how a judge would give TJ the nod because of his aggression and him moving forward.
And see, in that realm, Cory, I'm going to disagree with you because I rewatched the fight twice. I watched it on Saturday night. I scored it for you at the time, 48-47. Pretty clearly, again, credit to TJ, tough fight, but I scored you winning. I went back and rewatched it twice because I wanted to make sure when you're in the heat of the moment, I'm also covering it. I'm writing about the fight, so maybe I missed something. The second time I watched it, once again, I said clearly 48-47. And the third time I actually said maybe even 49-46 for you because I think the first round could have gone to you in a little bit. When you think about the heel hook, you think about what you did on the ground. He didn't do a lot on the ground, but let's just lean that way for him. But the problem I have is that effective, and I had to send out this tweet yesterday for somebody arguing with me about cage control and aggression. When you look at the scoring criteria, it literally says in the scoring criteria, aggression only matters if it's effective aggression, meaning he's actually doing something to finish the fight. Just walking forward into punches is not effective aggression. And the same thing with cage control. It literally says in the criteria, you only score cage control if striking and grappling are 100% even. The reality is striking or grappling, we're not 100% even. So that's where I argue against the control. Absolutely nothing against TJ. He showed incredible durability, incredible toughness, but those are not the criteria you're supposed to score to win a fight.
I agree with you. I think we're past the point of being durable and being tough and being aggressive wins you a fight. I don't think that that's what does it. I also don't think that having control and not doing damage should win you a fight. I think You know, man, like I said, bro, 19 shots he took on me. He didn't take me down once, except for the time I threw the flying knee and the time I threw the spinning heel kick. His shots, I shut every single one down. So it's really frustrating for me to feel like TJ earned that win, you know, because he was being really aggressive, but nothing that he was doing was working, which is frustrating.
Yeah. When I rewatched it, one thing I was really impressed by with you was your counter striking. I mean, he came forward and you blasted him with a lot of shots going backwards. I was really impressed by that because that's not an easy skill to do when you're on your back foot to actually do damage off your back foot. It's one thing to land a shot off your back foot, it's another thing to do damage. You did some of your best strikes when he was coming at you and you were taking a step back and hitting him. Did you kind of have an idea that's what he was going to try to do in terms of the way this fight was going to play out? Because you did a lot of damage just from that particular aspect where you were counter striking his aggression.
Yeah. That was more or less I don't think that was a huge emphasis, but that was kind of something that I found throughout the fight that was working. One thing that TJ was doing differently in this one is obviously he wasn't moving backwards and he wasn't using a lot of his really fancy footwork to take a lot of angles. He kind of was moving his head a little bit, but it wasn't a ton, and he was kind of just eating the shots and moving forward, which was a little bit surprising on my end that was kind of his game plan.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and like I said, I mean, even the transitions where he got you like with the body, it kept riding over and over again, the body lock, he grabbed onto your body and pushed you against the cage, but you kept spinning out of that, you kept getting away from it. And holding you against the cage, he wasn't really throwing shots because as soon as he tried to throw something, you escaped. And so that was kind of like a theme of the fight, in my opinion. Like you would get stuck there for a second, but as soon as he would do anything to let go one of his arms, you got out of there and the control was gone. So like even when he was pressed against the cage, he wasn't really doing any damage from those positions.
Yeah, I agree completely. There was no damage being done when his hands were locked on the body lock. I even thought, man, in the fight, I was like, all right, well, let me just pin this guy against the cage for a little bit because then maybe, you know, it'll be closer on the control time or whatever. I was thinking that in the fight, but man, in my head, that's not what winning the fight is. In my head, it's not like, because imagine if that's what, and I've seen this happen in a lot of fights, but imagine if that's what I had done, where it's one of these things where you just see two guys just go back and forth while wrestling, throwing little pot shot knees, fit in on a leg, don't get it, reattack, turn the other person. And it's that for an entire fight. No one really wants to watch that. And to me, that isn't winning a fight. Winning a fight isn't pinning someone against the cage. If you could take someone down, it's a little bit of a different story, but TJ was unable to take me down.
Yeah. In that sense, I see you actually got a little bit of a black eye there. I'll be honest, Cory, I didn't really see you take any, seriously damaging shots during the fight. Obviously, I know a lot of people talked about the leg kicks, but again, you said after the fight, your leg didn't hurt. It really didn't do a lot of damage, but do you remember him landing anything really, truly clean in that fight?
Nothing scored where I was like, oh, I need to watch out for that. Nothing like that scored. Even on the leg, I knew he was scoring. He threw like 3 or 4 in a row. And I was like, all right, stupid. Like, stop letting that happen to you, And then that kind of cleared up after that. But even the leg kicks, man, like the leg kicks, at no point was I like, oh, I need to start worrying about getting kicked there or whatever. There was really nothing. The black eye, actually, I scratched my cornea really bad because one time his thumb went into my eye, but I didn't want to say anything to the ref and be like, and give him any opportunity to, rush forward while I was doing that. And I didn't want to show any weakness in there, but I scratched my cornea. That hurt pretty bad later on that night, but that's probably what the black eye is from. But no, man, nothing was really scoring. I'd take a lot of blame for the loss because I was unaware of how it was looking aesthetically from an outsider's point of view, especially in a lot of those really close rounds where he was controlling me against the cage, that I should have done more. And I should have just tried to score a little bit more because I do think after that second round, when I beat him up really bad, I do think I took my foot off the gas a little bit. Unknowingly to kind of myself and just being unaware of it after watching it. I think that's what gave him the nod, and while it's hard for me to acknowledge that he won the fight, I do think that that's probably what gave it to him from the judge's point of view. Yeah. Or at least those 3 judges.
With that being said,
only 2 of them.
Yeah, two of them, and the one had him scored winning round 5, which I think is insane. I think that is probably the most egregious error of the entire scoring system, is that anyone gave him round 5, because if they would have given you round 5, you would have won the fight. That one was the most mind-boggling. I thought you won rounds 4 and round 5, but regardless, let's say 4 was closer. I don't know how you score him winning round 5. I just don't.
Yeah, I agree, man. I watched it again, and I remember in the corner when I was talking to my coaches, I said, I'm winning this round. And they said, you're winning this round. And I went out and I thought that I won the round. It was funny. Even in round 5, I could hear his entire corner multiple times say, come on, TJ, you need to pick it up. We need a knockout here. We need a knockout here. So I think even his corner knew that he was losing the fight.
Yeah. After the fight, I congratulate you for taking the high road when you said, you don't want to be a little whiny, you don't want to be a baby about it, credit to him for winning the fight. But at the same time, when we use words like robbery, people get mad because like, oh, it was a close fight. There was close moments. I'm not going to say TJ didn't look tough in it. The guy showed incredible durability, man. That guy can take a shot. There was a couple times where I was shocked he actually was able to get punched or took a knee, and I was like, good Lord, how is he still walking forward? But that doesn't mean it's not an insult to TJ. It's not his fault. It's not that I'm accusing him of doing something bad. It's the judges. Would you go as far as using a word like robbery for a fight like this now that you've had a little bit of time to rewatch it and things like that? And I'm only saying this because I think it was, and it's not a knock on TJ, and it's not a knock on his performance. It's just a knock on the judges, because I thought you clearly won the fight. I don't care if it's 3 rounds to 2. If you clearly won the fight and they gave it to him, how do we not consider that a robbery?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like I said, I think I need to take responsibility, and I need to let myself feel that it's my fault that I lost, because there are things that I could have done differently, man. And they're just really tiny little things, which is why I'm not beating myself up too much about this one, is because I think on most people's scorecards, I win just because the 3 judges or the 2 judges in there thought that I lost. I'm not going to feel like I got beat in a fight, because I don't feel like I got beat in a fight. But I do think it's really important for me to acknowledge that if I would have done a couple things different, and although they're really minor, that's kind of the realm of competition that I'm in, where I don't get to make a lot of really minor mistakes anymore. I made minor mistakes in not being aware of the fact that aesthetically it looks like TJ was maybe doing better than me in a couple of those rounds, when I think both him and I and his corner and my corner kind of all knew that I was the one winning the actual fight part of that fight. But I will take responsibility for taking my foot off the gas, and that's just a thing that I got to learn not to do.
Yeah. With that being said, I know ultimately it doesn't give you back half your paycheck, and it doesn't give you back the loss on your record, because unfortunately those are things we can't take away. But is there any, at least a little bit of indication that so many people are telling you won? I mean, it doesn't change anything, but like, I'm telling you vehemently, I believe you won that fight. Again, nothing against TJ. I 100% believe you won that fight. And if you look at the scorecards, the overwhelming majority of people are saying the same thing. We've seen fighters saying the same thing. The majority of people out there are saying you won the fight. Again, doesn't change anything, but does it at least take away a little bit of the sting, knowing that you're seeing the same thing everybody else is seeing?
It does actually take off a little bit of the sting. It also makes me just think about how we should probably be scoring these things a little bit differently. I would really like to see it not be on the hands of 3 people that no one knows anything about and belongs to commissions that, who really knows what the criteria is that these people need in order to score these things. I think we should, we have technology, we have all kinds of resources now. Why don't we do something where we have 30 people, or, I saw that the all of the media people put in their, how they scored the fight and this and that. Why don't we do something a little bit more like that, where we have, 20 or 30 people watching it who are professionals, who that is their job, and they get paid to do that every weekend if need be for the UFC, and that's their job. And why don't we just get more names in the hat, and then we'll just have a lot less, man. 3 judges does not seem like a lot. I think one day when we switch over to a system, we're going to look back and be like, man, can you believe that we're having 3 people who knows what kind of background they come from, we're scoring these fights where people could potentially change their lives with the amount of money or the amount of success that they're getting. I think that that's insane.
It is. And I also think I also really dislike the 10-point must system for MMA. I know it's so weird and kind of uneven because you're scoring the whole fight when you look at like the Pride or I guess, the one championship or however you want to look at that system of scoring. But ultimately, that's to me, you look at the whole fight, who won the fight. I don't think anyone in their right mind would look at the entire fight and say, oh, well, of course TJ won that fight. No, you can take a quick look at his face and see that, that's not the case. That being said, again, TJ showed incredible durability. There's one thing I want to compliment the guy on, man. He took some shots that I thought the rest of the bantamweight division would not take. Like I was really impressed by that part of it, that he did have that kind of durability. And I know you as a fighter, you probably do as well, because I was shocked there were some of the shots he was able to take.
Yeah, I was shocked. TJ is a competitor, man. Like I'll give him all the credit in the world, man. The guy was tough as hell. He didn't care that I was hitting him. He obviously had his mind completely set on winning, and all the credit to TJ for doing that. But I still don't think that he beat me up more than I beat him up.
Yeah. Do you think in your mind, and again, I know this isn't going to be what's next. Maybe it's a year from now. Maybe it's a title fight, which maybe that happens. Do you feel like you will see TJ again in your career before it's all said and done?
I really hope that I do, man. I really hope that I do. I don't like the taste in my mouth of feeling, again, like I said, if I just would have fixed a couple things, that then I definitely get the nod from the judges, because I think I already won the actual fighting part of the thing. And I think that next time me and TJ face each other, he's not going to have anything to lean back on. Going into this one, I know in his head he was really relying on taking me down and winning that way, and he wasn't able to do that. I think I showed that I have really good wrestling and I have really good takedown defense, and you're not just going to be able to do that at will when you're fighting me, because that's one of the areas that TJ is really good at, is being able to take people down. And I shut down 17 of his shots. And I think going into another fight with TJ, he's going to know that I understand the mistakes that I made. And when we fight again, those mistakes won't be there anymore, and he'll probably get finished.
Yeah, I appreciate that you acknowledge, because obviously you're a guy. I know you said this in our pre-fight interview. You talked about, you're a student of the game. You love being in the gym. You love learning. I love that attitude, because listen, I'm probably, I'm sitting here probably more angry about it than you are, because I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get the scoring in this fight. But you've actually taken a pretty, a pretty humble approach to it, even though, again, I think you were robbed. But again, I like that you're taking the attitude like, it's beyond that. You're moving on, you're learning from your mistakes, and you're going to come back from this a better fighter.
Yeah. Yeah. If I don't take responsibility, who's supposed to? Like I definitely want to bitch about it, and I have bitched about it. And I think that there's really nothing wrong with bitching about something like this in this instance. And I think, it was my fault that I didn't win still at the end of the day. And this thing is a journey. I'm still only 29 years old. I don't think that I lost any stock after this fight. I won't be fighting for the belt next, probably, but I'm still going to get, maybe Rob Font or someone way, way high still in the top 5. And I still think, I made a pinky promise with Sean Shelby afterwards. I'm still one fight away from getting the world title. And so besides, the history books writing it in there as TJ beating me, I don't feel like I lost too much ground.
Yeah. With that being said, it's kind of funny. Beforehand, you told me that, you're so fired up in fight mode that when I asked you, would you wait for the title shot? You said, I might not. Like, I might fight again just because I don't want to wait. But he's like, you also acknowledge, like, that's also just the anticipation of wanting to fight right then. But the way it worked out, assuming now we know that Aljamain and Peter Yan are supposed to fight at the end of October, and TJ, we have to assume now is going to get the winner. And I know he said maybe he'll fight someone else, but being honest, and I would have said the same thing to you, I would be like, wait for the title fight unless one of them gets injured and like, it's going to be like a year out or anything like that. So hypothetically, if that happens, is Rob Font kind of the perfect opponent now? Because it is kind of set up that way. I mean, you talked about maybe fighting him anyways.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think Rob Font's a very formidable opponent. I think it totally makes sense. I think, just based off of the circumstance of the fight, like, I don't feel like I should fight anyone else who isn't really in that conversation of fighting for a title soon either. So I think the only other person in that world is Rob Font. So that's, hopefully going to be the next one.
Yeah. Now, you told me beforehand that your girlfriend's probably going to yell at you if you don't take a little bit of a break. And I know you said you're going camping. So are you taking a couple of days off before you get back in the gym?
Yeah. We're going to Glacier National Park on Wednesday till about Sunday. And then by that time I'll probably be bored with, doing nothing. And then I'll probably be back. But I will say, I don't know that it's necessarily the training that exhausts her, or it's just like me being the way that I am when I'm getting ready for a fight that probably exhausts her. So I don't know what the timeline will be in the next time that I fight. But if it's, I don't foresee it being too long, unfortunately for her.
I assume, and again, I know assuming is a bad thing to do, but I assume you want to get at least one more in this year. I mean, we're right now basically at the end of July. Do you want to get one more in this year?
Yeah, I'm going to look at it a little bit less like that. And I'm going to look at it a little bit more in terms of timing for the title, to be honest with you. I think that that's an important part of my next fight, is making sure that it kind of lines up really well with the timing of that. Yeah.
Well, that's the end of October. I mean, October, November would make sense. And I know there's a lot of big cards coming up in November as well. And I'm sure you've heard the rumors. There's talking about going back to Madison Square Garden, obviously. But I think you and Rob Font, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you and Rob Font's a main event. Again, I'm sure you'd fight him 3 rounds, but I think that's a main event myself.
Yeah, that'd be great. Either one, either one. I'm not going to be picky. But I think that's the fight to make.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Well, Cory, thank you so much for taking the time, man. I like I said, when it was all over, I kind of feel bad reaching out in these moments, because I'm like, I just want to give you time to decompress and just kind of like soak everything in. But this one was one that just stuck with me. Like I said, I had to watch it 2 more times yesterday, and it didn't sit right with me. And it's absolutely nothing against TJ. I thought you won the fight. And the more I watched it, I was like, you know what? It wasn't close. I thought you definitely won the fight. And again, none of that makes a difference, but I was just like, I don't get it. But like I said, man, I appreciate you doing this and breaking everything down with me. And again, I'm saying congrats on the amazing performance. I know you didn't get the win. You didn't get your win bonus. None of this makes a difference in the long term, but I thought you looked amazing, man. I thought you had a great performance against a former champion. I still feel like you're the true number 1 contender in this division. And like I said, maybe you beat Rob Font and then you get it anyways. But like I said, I think you deserve the win, man. And I thought you had an amazing showing on Saturday night.
Oh, man, I really appreciate that, Damon. I really do, man. So thank you for the kind words.
Absolutely. Well, Cory, enjoy a little bit of downtime, man. Enjoy the little bit of break from the sport with some camping. Thank you so much again for doing this. And I'm sure we will catch up in the very near future.